Welcome back, sewists. I have another fun Christmassy project. I'm feeling very Christmassy. I've got my snowflakes on, even my nails have snowflakes. And we're going to do a fun little Christmas related project. But first, still Christmas related, I'm going to take you back in time to some of the stuff I've been working on this week off camera for the most part, including, look at all these scrub hats. I need some tissue paper, but I packed them in here. I've actually made more than this. I sent some home early that were Christmassy related, like these cute little Christmas pickles. So let me show you a little scrub hats. I've also been working on napkins. And one of the things I learned about the napkins is after I did my rolled hem with my regular thread, I was unhappy. I purchased some woolly nylon and I'm going to rehem all of the napkins. So I'll show you a little close-up of those before the woolly nylon. And then we'll get started on today's project. Okay, I'm cutting out scads of hats, and this one is a directional print and it's also a fat quarter, and this fat quarter is a little shy. It's just a little short, and because of that I could not get this piece on the fold, so I've refolded it totally off grain, but because it needs some bias in here for fit and it gets lined from behind, I'm not going to worry about it. So you can see I'm cutting way off grain, but I'm able to get all of my pieces that I need cut out of it. It gets lined with this part with the terry cloth, so that's my solution. Everything else I've been able to layer and cut. This one little piece, which they really love. Look at the Christmas pickles. Here's my wacky solution. Okay, I'm going to sit and put hats together up to bias binding. And almost all of these I'm going to sew in white thread, except for these two that are in black. So you've seen these fabrics, but these are the ones they were brought to me. So I've got aliens and beautiful geometrics. And look at that one, the Starry Night, cute little calico, beautiful bright colors, lots of fun fabrics in here. And Christmas pickles. And this snowflake's really cute too. All of these were from Joann's on their sale. These are Hobby Lobby ones. This is the hat factory. This is all the hats that I've been working on. You can see where I'm at. I'm actually going to sit down real quick and finish these that are black while I have the black thread and before I switch everything out. So this was yesterday where I ended yesterday. I'm going to get today's little top made, and then I'm going to come back, and these are all ready for bias. And I've got their bias lined up with them so that I know which one's which. I bought 2 sets of fat quarters in this cute little homespun, and I just made a fat quarter napkins, and you can see the rolled hem. It makes a very pretty rolled hem, and it looks fine, but it looks to me a little sparse, especially where, like on this one, can you see how it goes light and dark? If I had a woolly nylon, that would cover that a lot better. So I'm going to come back, I'm just going to cover the whole thing in woolly nylon and go all around them one more time. I didn't have any navy, so I bought some navy. I also bought white because I've used my white all the way up. And look at how cute these little napkins are going to be. A nice big set of, there will be 2 of each fabric because of how I bought the fat quarter bundles. Okay, I'm going to move my hats out of the way. We're going to start today's. Before we get sewing, let me show you my cute sweater. This is a stretch and sew pattern. I have the video. I'll put the link below, and this is what the title card looks like. I did a little stretch and sew showcase, and this is the pattern that I set up in this cable knit. I'm loving it. It's sort of a dolman style. Look, it's all one sleeve. Really enjoying this sweater, and it's perfect today because we're in the 20s, which is pretty stinking chilly for us here in Oklahoma. I also did a video on making the little Japanese knot bag and how I like to do bags as wrapping for gifts. In that vein, Cotton and Bourbon is an account that I follow on Instagram, and they have the cutest gift bag pattern, and they recently updated it. And I bought the updated pattern. I think it was like $5. It may have been on sale at the time. I didn't go back and look, but I will have it linked below. And we're going to make a couple of the gift bags. They're super straightforward and simple. This is what it looks like when you buy the pattern. There's like 9 sizes in there. It goes from mini to extra large, and you can color block it. You can put multiple fabrics together. You can have, it's lined. It just ties together. She has one that's for like bottles, if you want to give like a bottle of wine, to small ones. It'd be perfect almost for like a little jewelry box. So you have all of the things in between. I am thinking about making a couple of the bigger fatter ones and putting a big tin inside of cookies, of homemade cookies, and putting them in the little sack. But today we're going to just make a small and a medium. I pulled out some fun sort of Christmassy and just homey scraps to decide which ones I'm going to put together, including a lining. I have a bunch of this. I think I'm going to line a lot with this one. And I've got a couple different plaids. So these are just scraps. This one is a green with gold metallic swirls in it. Another beautiful plaid. So we'll see which ones I put together. I do like sort of the color blocked or mixing fabrics and then doing a solid on the inside. You could easily just line these with a broadcloth or a muslin on the inside and keep it inexpensive. This is another scrap buster, which I love a scrap buster. So let's get cutting. Okay, I sent you a text. Normally I use the projector and don't print out, but my projector, we've had guests in here and we moved the projector and they were projecting a movie on the wall, and so it is completely uncalibrated. So this is a small project without much paper, and I decided I would just print it out and recalibrate my projector later. So I'm just taking the pages and sliding them under and marking on them. Easy as can be. So we're going to cut 4 on the fold for the outer fabric and 4 on the fold for the lining. This is a fat quarter that I have here, and of the small, you can see the direction I folded it for the fat quarter. I can definitely get 2 pieces, or it will fit on a fat quarter. So I'm going to get 2 of this. I think I'm going to combine these 2 for one bag and then just line it in the red. So I'm going to do that for this small, and then I'll see what fits next. I have a medium and a large. I have all 3 sizes cut out. I want to make one of each just to see what fits in them, and then I'll know where to go from there. Okay, I'm just taking my scraps and layering when I can so I can cut at least 2 at a time. So I'm going to cut these 2, refold, cut 2 more, and I'll have my outer fabric. And then I'm actually considering making this pattern piece a whole, because then it would be much easier for cutting the lining instead of having to place all of them on the folds. So I'm seriously thinking I might really speed up my time if I made more pattern pieces that were not on the fold. Because lining, I'm not going to patchwork it, so I could just cut 2 open, which would make the cutting go a lot faster. So I think I might do that. Anyway, it is very straightforward as far as cutting goes. Just watch your grain line. You can go cross or straight. I love bias plaid, and if you want to do bias plaid, it is lined. Make sure your lining is straight of grain, but you may even want to interface it, make it a little stiffer, and keep it from stretching if you chose to use the bias of the fabric. So here's my solution. I've opened up my fabric so it's not on the fold to cut the next 2. So here's my green one and here's my plaid one. And I've layered them. So they're symmetrical, so they're on top of each other. And I've used my piece I've already cut out, opened up, and I can cut these 2 out. And then I will do the same for the lining. It'll be very easy to do the lining. I can do my 4 layers and just cut 4 pieces, and I will have the small one cut out. This particular plaid is completely symmetrical, cross and lengthwise, which is super nice too. So I don't have to worry too much about lining it up. I'm alternating fabrics anyway. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use for the lining for this one. It's going to be the outer. I think I'm going to combine it with this polka dot that comes from QT. This is one of my sister's fabrics that she designed, and it looks so good with that. So I think these 2 are going to be an outer fabric. But anyway, I just opened this up. I have 4 layers here, so my lining will be completely cut, and then I'm going to move on to the medium, which is what I'm going to make this one in, I think. Okay, I'm cutting out the large. I have about just over a yard of this fabric here, and I folded it cross grain to get my 4 pieces out of it. But you can see the large takes quite a bit of fabric. So if you're trying to get this all out of one fabric, you're going to need quite a bit, but it's going to work. And that's already in my stash, so I'm not going to go buy more fabric. I'm going to use up what I have. And I think this will be really cute. This one looks almost like tooled leather. And then this little bandana paisley, and then I have this little calico from Liberty. So I think those will look fine together. Okay, pardon the mess in the background. I'm not alone in the sewing room. I am at the moment, but not permanently. We have lots going on right now through the holidays, which is partly why I'm doing a little bit different projects, because it's hard to use that back wall right now. Anyway, I have got cut out 2 smalls, a medium, and a large, and I will just show you. Now there's other sizes in there. She's got a lot of sizes. This is, the new pattern has the expansion pack. So I'm gonna hold up, here's the small pattern piece, here's the medium pattern piece, and here's a large. So if I stack them, so you can kind of see the size difference. That's the size difference for small, medium, large. She has a mini, she has a tall and skinny. There's other sizes in there. Those are the ones that I have cut out. I have one, just one large and one medium, but I have 2 of the smalls cut out, just using up my scraps. I did change things, you'll see when I'm done. I found a big piece of white broadcloth, so I cut out as many linings as I could out of that white broadcloth and used my prettier fabric for more of the outsides, though I really do like the way it looks, and it would be pretty easy if you wanted to piece this so just the handle had a decorative and the bottom was plain on the inside, so that when you tie it you'd see both cute fabrics, but in the very inside where the gift sits and you don't see it, it could be plain, as another way to stretch your decorative fabrics. So we're going to just start putting these together. I'm going to start with the smalls, and then I'll sew the rest off camera, and I'll just show them all to you at the end. This is very straightforward. The small has 1/4 inch seam allowance. The others have 1/2 inch seam allowance. I am putting my pieces together in this order, but what we're going to start with is doing just 2 pieces like this. And we're just sewing the point, 1 point. So I'm going to sew this point and this point, then we will press and open, and then we will sew this point and this point. All right, and then we'll have that together. We'll do the same thing for the lining, but in the lining we're going to leave the middle open. So let me get these sewn to that spot, and then I will show you. So I'm going to actually line up a whole bunch of these just like this and get a lot of these all sewn at the same time. Here's all my little linings. So I'm going to just stack these up and sew. It's going to make sewing go fast so I can get lots of them made. And in this group I have the plaid. Okay, I'm ready to start sewing. I have got my 1/4 inch foot on, which is perfect for doing this small bag because it's 1/4 inch seam allowance. I've also got my even feed engaged. Okay, so I have all of my, I've got half sewn together, and I'm going to go press all of these open. Press the seam allowance open so you can see this is the shape that we're going to start with. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my linings. And then when I get those together, I'll come back and show you how we're going to marry the two. The linings will be slightly different than the outer bag because we're turning through that lining. So I'll meet you back here in a few minutes after I get these done. We're also going to go press. Okay, so I have pressed towards the plaid. You could press them open, either works. By doing that, I get all of the seam allowance on one side so that when I stack these on top of each other and I line it up, you can see how they're offset, and it just makes it a little less bulky. It ends up being the same as if I pressed it open, so you could do it either way. It really doesn't matter as long as you get them pressed nice and neat on that bottom. So these are now ready to be put together along the bottom. We're going to pin and sew straight across the bottom. Okay, so for the lining, I went ahead and just pressed it open, but we are not going to sew straight across on the lining. I'm going to leave open between these two pins. Here's my seam. So I'm going to sew from the corner to this pin and back stitch, and from this pin to this corner, back stitching, leaving this open. We're going to turn the whole bag through this hole. This is for all sizes, no matter which bag you're doing. This is what you do on the lining. Everything else gets sewn the same. So just leave a little hole in the lining for turning. Okay, I'm just going to sew my little bottoms together now. So this is how they look. I have 2 outer bags and 2 linings, and don't forget to leave the little hole in the middle of the lining for turning through later. And we're just going to stitch this together. Remember, the small bag has 1/4 inch seam allowance, and everything else has 1/2 inch, as far as I know. Now once we get these all stitched, we're going to open up and press that bottom seam. Look at how pretty that looks already. So we're going to have a whole bunch of these, and you just want to make sure that you have a nice, that everything lines up right there in the bottom of the bag. It's not, I mean, it's the bottom of the bag. When it's all put together, you're not really going to see it. But so next we'll be pressing open for all things, and then we will be ready to assemble the bag. Now I'm doing lining, so I'm going to be leaving a little hole. So I'm sewing from the end to my pin. I'm leaving about a 5 inch hole. It could be a little smaller. You just want to be able to turn the whole bag through it. And do back stitch because it'll keep it from pulling apart when you turn your bag through. So here's a lining, and here's my hole to turn it through. These go together so fast. All right, I'm ready to press these, and I'll meet you back to assemble our bag. Okay, so we have the bottoms of all of our bags together, and now we're going to start sewing our sides. So we're going to just take 2 sides, and she has it labeled very nicely in her pattern, so we're going to just see how we're going to put those 2 together. I'm going to put a clip in it so you can see how this goes together. So we're going to sew these 2 together, and then we're going to sew these 2 opposite together, and then we'll come back and we'll do these 2. And see, it's becoming a bag. So we're just sewing this little short edge. We're going to do that for all pieces, so lining and everything. When we sew these little straight edges together, it ends up making our little bag. Just like that. So I'm going to just sit here and sew straight edges together for a little bit. It goes together pretty fast. Again, this is 1/4 inch because I'm on the small bag, and we're just sewing straight up. And then we're going to go press all of these seams open, and then we'll put our lining in. This goes together really fast. Okay, I'll meet you back here when we're ready to put the lining in. I'm just going to sit and sew for a while. Got strings hanging off of me. Okay, so I have got my 2 bags, outer bags put together, and my 2 linings put together for the small. We're going to now take our lining, and I'm going to flip it around to the right side. You could do this with the bag. You could do it either way. So we have one that's right-sided, a lining that's right-sided, and a bag that's wrong-sided. We're going to slide one inside the other, lining up all of our seams and our little handles. Now it's symmetrical all the way around, so you can just pick a seam and a handle and start lining them up. And we're going to sew all the way around the outer edge. So we're just going to sew all the way around all these little handles, 1/4 of an inch, all the way around. And then when we're done, we're going to come back to our little hole and we're going to pull the bag through and press it, and you can top stitch if you want to. It'll stay better if you do, I'm just saying. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this one put together like I did the other one. I pressed them both, pressed all the seams open, so it's going to go together nice and flat and easy. And then we will have 2 little bags made, and then I will go on to make my other 2. I have 2, a medium bag and a large bag. I'll make those off camera and I'll just show you at the end how they turn out. I really like the way this looks, and I'm wishing I had, my Christmas packaging is all pastel this year. It is not these colors like under my tree. And I'm wishing I had fabrics to go with my pastel mid-century modern looking tree and wrapping and stuff that I currently have under there. So I may have to go buy some fabric and make a few more that match my tree so they look cute under the tree. We'll see. I really do like this pattern though. It goes together great. Everything fits together. It's all in the cutting. You cut it out even, you cut it out, you know, correctly, you're going to have no problem getting it to go together. And it's pretty fast. This is one you don't need a serger for. All just sewn together. Cotton and Bourbon does beautiful quilt work. So if you're looking for quilty type stuff and things available on their website. So now I have 2 little bags ready to go. I'm just going to start sewing to make sure it's flat and lined up. And wherever you start is where you're going to end, because you're going all the way around the bag, 1/4 of an inch. The size of this small bag is really perfect. However, it's easier to press open and do things with a larger seam allowance, which is what you have on the larger bags, just as a heads up, especially if you're a newer sewist. You might find that pressing open 1/4 inch seam allowance can be kind of a pain or a little difficult. Since I saw you last, which I know was like that for you, I have finished 1 little bag, and all the other bags are put together and ready to be turned inside out, pressed, and to sew shut our little hole in the lining. So what I'm going to do, I've got my little bag here, I'm going to pull out the lining, and I can put my hand in there and I can pull the lining through. And then we're going to turn through all of our little handles. And I used this little thing and I put it inside my handle to poke them through. Now the small bag that I made had 1/4 inch seam allowance. When you go to the mediums and larges, they have 1/2 inch. But her instructions actually said that they found that when they sewed it up, the 1/2 inch was fine, but when they went to do the top of the bag where the handles are, they went to a narrower seam allowance. I think she said she went back to 1/4. I did 3/8. I went a little narrow on the tops of my bags just to make it turn easier for these little handles up here where we're going to tie it together. So I'm poking through all my little handles like this. I'm going to do that for all of these bags and then press it. And then we have the hole in the bottom of the lining. Now you can slip stitch that shut by hand, do a little hand stitch, or you can pinch together the 2 layers and top stitch right on the edge. It won't be as reversible if you do that. Like this bag where I have the 2 fabrics, this one could be completely reversible. These others have just plain white lining and the other fabric kind of shadows through. I wouldn't consider these reversible, but you could make these a reversible bag very easily. They're so cute and really fast. I've made 4 bags. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I started around 10-ish, and that includes tracing the patterns and in and out. I've had guests come in and visit and talk to me, so it's not like I've been like really sewing like crazy in here. So here's my lining with the hole. We're going to tuck in the seam allowance, and you can either slip stitch this shut, or you can take it to the sewing machine and top stitch it, which is what I did for this one. I took this bag and I very carefully top stitched right along the edge. So I'm going to do that for all of these linings. I'm just going to do a little top stitch. I did not top stitch any of the rest of the bag, and I'm perfectly happy with it. Now, you may want to top stitch around this upper edge. Go for it if that's something you want to do. The other thing on these big bags, because the seam allowance is a little thicker, it doesn't turn as nice right here in this valley of the curve. So I did do just a couple clips just right down here to make it turn nice and press nice. So that's it. That's our little bags. I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing these, and I'll take them over and display them. I'm going to get something to stuff down in them. This one's quite large. I'm going to have to get something to go inside it to make it show off. But this one, you could tie these together and use this as a shopping bag afterwards if you gave this as a gift. Great sizes. I'm excited to share with you these, and I definitely want to make these again as I'm doing this. You could, this would be a really cute way to recycle jeans. Wouldn't this be cute out of denim? It would also be really cute, like out of, if you went and thrifted a bunch of old sweaters and used sweaters for the outside of these. My head was just like, oh, there's so many cute ways to turn this into a cute gift for gift wrap. And then it's also reusable. All right, I will see you over there in a few minutes after I flip these all through and sew the little holes up in my linings. Okay, so this is, you can see how close I'm sewing. I'm starting where my opening is. I'm just going to sew across to where my opening ends and just stitch shut this little hole. Put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. You can put pins in it if you want to, whatever makes it easy for you to tell where to stitch. And you can see how close to the edge I got, and that sews up the bottom of my bag. Okay, here are my super cute finished bags. Here's a little, this is the small size. You can see how the bottom looks. You could easily make this out of 4 fabrics, all out of the same fabric. And then the little tops just tie, they actually kind of make their own little bow just by tying them shut at the top. You could add a bow to it. You could double knot it if you wanted to. They make little rabbit ears. Isn't that cute? So here's small, here's medium, and here's the large back here. Small, medium. This one's also a small. This one, I just stuffed it with some fabric scraps. This one has a little box in it, so it holds its shape a little better. And then this one is the large. So you can see how big the large is. There's its pretty bottom, and I really am pleased. This one could be completely reversible. I did slip stitch the bottom of this one, so when it's flipped around, it looks exactly the same as the outer one. And look, and this could be easily, you could tie it up here like this and like carry it as a shopping bag. You can see the little blue parts. So now you can see our sizes. So this is the cotton and bourbon gift bag. This is the new expanded pattern. She's added more sizes to it. The directions, it's real straightforward. The directions are great if you want to just print it out. I think the instruction section is like 8 pages, and I think it might be 13 pages total for all the sizes of the little bags. Very easy to make, a good beginner project, a really fun way to wrap Christmas presents. Couldn't you see, if you're doing Christmas pajamas for your whole family and everyone got their own little Christmas pajamas in their little sack like this, wouldn't that be cute? You could get fabric to match the pajamas. Thanks for sewing with me. I'll see you next week for another fun video.